Today we will show you how to troubleshoot power issues on a Fusion Marine stereo. The most important tool for basic power troubleshooting is a digital multimeter. A digital multimeter allows us to measure how much voltage we are receiving through a power connection. As a note, simple test lights are not sufficient for proper troubleshooting. It is also useful to have extra properly rated fuses, an extra power cable, and a different power source to help isolate a device for better troubleshooting. First, you will want to ensure your system is installed correctly. Improper installation is the primary cause of stereo power issues. Please refer to the device's installation manual for instructions. The power connections on Fusion stereos can vary by model. Most stereos will have 3 power connections, one for power positive, one for the ignition on, and third for ground. All 3 must be connected for proper use. You can wire the ignition and power positive wires together if you do not want to connect the stereo to the ignition. Power problems can present themselves in numerous ways. Your device may simply power down right after startup, or not power on at all. Lower voltages can cause graphical errors or freezing on a screen. First, ensure the power connections are securely attached, not corroded, loose, or disconnected. The power cable for Fusion equipment will generally be a part of a wiring harness. Make sure this harness is fully seated and inserted. Next, try isolating the unit. Disconnect everything except the power cable and try to power on the unit. Your battery may not have sufficient amperage if the device powers on after disconnecting other connections like NEMA 2000. Charge the battery and try again. We will need to troubleshoot the power to the unit if the same issue occurs. We will start by simply testing the battery or power source. Keep in mind, every boat and installation is different. The equipment we are using may not match your boat. Please contact a professional for assistance if you are uncomfortable performing any troubleshooting. For this test, we will need to set the multimeter up. Every multimeter will vary. Refer to the manual for specifics. We will want to test for DC voltage. The symbol for this is a V with a straight horizontal line, with a dotted horizontal line below it. Now, take the red lead and connect it to the positive power connection. Then, take the black lead and connect it to the negative power connection. Don't worry about accidentally doing this backwards. It won't damage the equipment, but it will show a negative voltage reading. Simply swap the leads for a correct positive reading. The voltage on a fully charged resting battery should be around 12.4 or 12.5 volts. Do not run a voltage test with the motors running or with a battery actively being charged. This isn't an accurate reading of the battery voltage. The battery may need to be replaced or reconditioned if it is below 12 volts after it has been charged and rested for 24 hours. We will test the cables and harnesses of the Fusion device to see if the battery voltage is close to or above 12.5 volts. We will start at the point closest to the device. On most stereos, this will be the end of the power harness. The sockets in the power harness may vary by stereo. Follow the device's installation manual for the power harness pinouts. Take the red lead and touch it to the positive voltage socket. Take the black lead and touch it to the negative voltage socket. You will also want to test the voltage between the ignition wire and ground if your stereo has an ignition wire run separately from the positive power lead. There may be a problem with the unit if the device shows 12 volts or more. Contact Garmin Marine Support for further assistance. There may be a problem with the fuse, power harness, or boat wiring if you are reading 12 or less volts. We will start troubleshooting the fuse. Fusion equipment will typically have a fuse on the device, but may also have inline fuses. Open the inline fuse holder, or remove the weather cap covering the fuse on the back of the device. Ensure the power is off before disconnecting the fuse. Visually inspect the fuse to see if the element is broken. This indicates the fuse is blown. Test the fuse with your multimeter if the fuse visually looks intact. For this test, set the multimeter up for ohms or resistance. The symbol for this is an omega symbol. You will want to set your multimeter to the lowest ohms or resistance setting. Place the fuse on a non-conductive surface and place your multimeter leads on each post for blade fuses, or either end of the fuse for tube fuses. The reading on your multimeter should show little or no resistance, similar to when you touch your multimeter leads together. The fuse will need to be replaced if the fuse reads at a high resistance. Please refer to your device's installation manual for the proper fuse size. Using a fuse different from the recommended size could damage the unit. We will need to move closer to the power source and test for voltage if you are receiving a low ohms or resistance reading. Next, we will test for voltage where the power cable is connected to the boat's electrical system. This will vary by boat, but is often connected at a terminal strip, fuse block, or breaker. The problem lies in the electrical system if you are receiving less than 12 volts. Continue testing connection points in the electrical system for voltage leading back to the power source until you find the cause of your problem. If you are unable or uncomfortable with any of these steps, follow the on-screen link to find a dealer that can perform the troubleshooting. And that's it. Thanks for watching. For more help, please visit marinesupport.garmin.com.